Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Esosa and KD Nigerian Magazine, in arranging this event. And thank you to all those who are attending and listening. So at this session, I've been asked to talk about myself and my journey so far. And in the process, I'll just I highlight the lessons I've learned and the tools that I have found useful. Okay, so I am also Nigerian, like Benosa. I'm Nigerian by background. And I came to the UK in the early 80s to attend university. And I think, yeah, that's where I'll start from. So my parents sent me here to attend university, and I knew that they had made a lot of sacrifice to sponsor me here to the UK. And I was very conscious of that. And when I arrived as well, the one thing that struck me was the way in which people had. I noticed that as a Black woman and as a Black person, I've been brought up in Nigeria where racism, we didn't know about racism. We didn't even know it existed. We're just Nigerians. We worked and we had other issues to deal with, but we were all one. Then coming here to the UK to study, I then suddenly realized that, oh, because you're Black, some may think that you're not as able. And for me, that was completely, irrational. I just couldn't imagine that people could think that way. But when I then realized that, I think it brought out a fighting spirit in me, because I suddenly realized, no, this is wrong. These guys just don't know. They don't know the country I'm coming from and the able people I've left behind. So in a sense, I think from that very early stage, I think I had in me a desire not to let the side down. And so one thing that drove me through my early years in the UK was really to just prove that that's what I had learned and what I had left behind was actually just as good, if not a lot better than what I was seeing. So while at university, I must say I was a hard worker. I did work hard, and I was driven not to let my side down and not to let my parent to make my parents' investment count. So that's really helped me, I think, make me quite conscientious and get the grades that I needed. And then I went on to do a postgraduate degree. And here, so I started by working quite hard, went to do a postgraduate degree, and I went to Oxford, and suddenly I think I became politically aware. I had a political awakening because I now met some really impressive students, including Black women who were from different parts of Africa, and also from the US, who were very politically aware. And I think at this stage, I just really became aware of the politics of race, the politics of gender, African politics. And so for me, my political side caught up with my academic side. So I had a really wonderful time, and had time to reflect and really see myself as a person in the world who had a place in society, and I too could actually have an impact in what was going on in the world. So that was the time when Nelson Mandela was still in prison. So we did a lot to free Nelson Mandela. We did marches. Things that I will never have done before. But again, so that was great. And when I finished, I decided I wanted to be a barrister. I qualified as a barrister. And of course, after qualification, I then realized that to start work as a barrister meant you started self-employed. And most barristers started with either support from the bank or from their parents. And remember, my parents were not wealthy, and they were through with supporting me. And then suddenly I then realized, no, I needed, for financial reasons, I then immediately switched to being a solicitor. And in all this time, another thing that drove me was also that I just had this need I mean, I was so grateful for what I had left behind in Nigeria that I had this strong desire to give back or to support my um, uh, parents, my siblings. So I was always looking out for opportunities to earn money to make sure that I can send something back, because that was for me was my own way of getting others to share in what I was enjoying, for which I really gave thanks to my upbringing. And so circumstances had done me well in that it's gave me that drive to succeed and drive to earn money. And so I immediately started work as working in a solicitor's firm, and in the process requalified. And I joined a law firm that was where I became a banking lawyer. So I started in finance, which was great, and I really enjoyed that. And it was quite a challenging time, just learning about banking and finance. And then I saw the opportunity to give advice on consumer credit. And in those days, consumer credit was really technical, and it was, but it was not a very glamorous area of law, but one area that could attract a lot of liability. So it was not an area many lawyers wanted to get involved in. But I found I found myself thrown into it. And in a sense, I just had no choice but to do the work, and I did it well. And I soon became a victim of my own success, and I started to do all the consumer credit that came into the firm at the time. But I just by reading between the lines, I could see that yes, it was nice to be recognized as an expert early. It was not an area that would lead me far, because it was not an area that actually had a lot of visibility in terms of what you were doing. You were very good hands, but in the background, and not one that. So I could see that if I carried on in that route, I will not become a partner, because I wouldn't get. I just certain parts of my career that will not meet the bill. And so I knew that I had to leave that area, because I didn't need anybody to tell me that if I carried on in that area, I will get nowhere. So I then decided, so I of course wanted to leave the area. And each time I was told, oh no, don't worry, next time we'll train somebody else up to do it. And nobody else was ever trained to do it. And I just then realized that if I didn't leave that firm, I will never stop doing that area of law. And I then made a decision to leave. So the first lesson, I'm just looking back in terms of always learn to read the writing on the wall. Because especially in the place of work, not all messages will be given to you explicitly. But sometimes in piecing together what is going on, you can figure out where you are, where you're heading. And if you don't like it, then do something about it. So anyway, I saw the opportunity. I left that law firm and joined a firm called Clifford Chance. And at this time, this was again, and it was a time when there was a fairly new technique, relatively new technique called derivatives that was used as a financial tool to manage financial risk. And it was quite complex and not something that many people knew about at the time. And I was given the opportunity to get involved in the area and learn it. And so once again, it was very challenging, working sometimes till 4 a.m. in the morning on matters, and until I got my head around it and understood the area, and then became one of the derivatives experts in the 90s. So that was great. And it was, and that expertise now opened up doors for me, and led me even to being a partner in a US law firm called Sidley Austin. I mean, that's quite a big US law firm of over 3,000 employees. I was one of the few equity partners, and in London, the only, the only Black and female partner. And so it was, but it was, and I was made a partner because of my expertise in derivatives, where there were very few people who were experts. So when it came to derivatives, I didn't really, and while at a partner Sidley at the time, most times I didn't actually notice the loneliness of being a woman and being Black, because it was really very much in a very specialized area where there were already very few of you anyway. And the area was just about your specialization. And I had a really good practice, which was driven by the need for the expertise I had. So in a sense, I think it kind of masked the issues that I later in my career realized existed. But nevertheless, I was I was at the time conscious of the I mean, because it was a US firm and we had a strong diversity committee, I really did get involved in gender and race diversity. I did my best to address those issues. But what then happened? So I had a really great career as a structured finance and derivatives lawyer with great booming business, which was really driven by my unique expertise. And then, of course, what then happened? We had the financial crash. And when that then happened, and we all, this was late 2000s, we then started to really look at I needed to rebuild. I mean, it was clear that something was not working. I mean, you needed to rebuild your practice in effect because your regular clients, many of them either had challenges or had gone out of business. And it was at this time, I really did notice how cutthroat the boardroom was. Because it was, I mean, when people are having to save their own skin, you really do, I mean, you do really do notice the differences. So it was, so at this time, trying to really sit back and think, okay, so who am I? Where am I going with my career? How do I rebuild this practice that seems to have fallen off the rails? And it was at that stage, I think somebody introduced, I started to really notice the loneliness in being a woman and being the only one in the room, either because you're a woman or because you're Black. And it's and at this time you really needed to fraternize with others in order to overcome your challenges. And that's fortunately for me, somebody introduced me to an organization called 100 Women in Finance. And in joining 100 Women in Finance, it was, I mean, I remember my very first event, attending that event, and I wasn't really sure whether they could really, what I would get out of it. And I remember one young lawyer coming up to me and asking me, I mean, this had been a day where we had, I mean, that been a really difficult day where as a partner, you're thinking, the firm is thinking of survival and thinking of dealing with low morale. I mean, we're dealing with lots of issues. So I attended that event on a very low note. And this young lawyer came up to me and asked who I was. And I told the young lawyer that I was a partner at City and Austin. And she turned to me and said, wow, you're a partner. And she seemed so impressed. And I said, I mean, in myself, I mean, of course, I was quite nice to Hannah, but I said, if only you knew the problems that this entails, you wouldn't be so impressed. But for me, that did so much for me, for my soul, because it was clear that something, I mean, what I was and where I was meant a lot to someone else who was actually trying to break into the profession. So she was, and for her, me being a woman and being a Black woman as well in this major law firm, she found very encouraging. And so suddenly I think I suddenly realized the power that we have in deflecting attention from yourself and really just focusing on the next person. So just her interest and enthusiasm in where I was really empowered me and made me go back appreciating what I had and being determined to fight for it. So I joined this women's organization and started to, and I was really encouraged because I saw so many confident and able women around me. I met one lady in particular who really encouraged me. And you meet your peers. I met my peers. I met people who were younger than me, So it was a great awakening. And so I started to learn to build my network. It was Bienosa that I had talk about network and the power of network. It building my network became really important. And attending networking events was not what came easiest to me, because I am naturally the person who would like to stay at the background and just do my own thing. But I then realized that I needed to network, and I spent time networking, and 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 why networking was important and useful, not just for expanding your horizons and the people you know, but also speaking about who you are and what you want, because that in itself is part of refining your own thought process. So that's, I mean, being joining network affiliation organizations and participating in events really helped me to really clarify where I was going with this new career that I had to build up. And so that really helped me. And then also with joining 100 Women in Finance, which was a volunteer organization, I had to follow. I had to. I mean, nobody created events for you. You had to create events yourself. So I was forced to sit back and think, what sort of events do I want? What do I want to get out of the events? What am I looking for? And once you decide what you're looking for, then you go out and you get it yourself. So as a volunteer, I was then forced to create what it was I wanted. And this led me to creating a group within 100 Women in Finance called the Legal Peer Advisory Group, where I chaired this organization, where we brought together lawyers within the organization who had similar who were in similar areas as us. And in doing that, once again, it helped me to refine what I wanted, allowed me to have deeper relationships with people who could help me, and it helped me to grow my knowledge. So that's all that was important. And so I, I think it was the beginning of a new period for me. So as, the, as that business came to an end, suddenly I started to really see myself. I grew in confidence and started to think, okay, what do I really want out of life? What do I want out of my career? And it finally just led me to saying, oh, okay, Elizabeth, you've acquired all this knowledge, all this skill. This is the type of knowledge and skill that is required in your home continent. Why not use it and try and actively participate in the development in Africa that is coming? And that is what has led me in 2014 to setting up my own law firm, because I really wanted to focus in Africa. And I remember then a lot of people used to say to me, I mean, you are setting up a small law firm, but your experience and expertise is in big law firms and acting for big institutions that need big practices. But at the time, I didn't let that stop me, but I went ahead and I did it anyway. And so I started effectively just started a new career, because obviously, yes, you have all the skills, but you are in the market that you were not, I mean, that I was not familiar with, because even though I'm an African by origin, I was not used to dealing with African institutions, because all the institutions I dealt with had been in the Western world. So I effectively had to learn again from the beginning, work my way through, demonstrate my relevance, demonstrate why my clients should use me, and that's the journey I'm on now. And in that journey, I've been quite fortunate. I've met, once again, lots of able women across the continent who have found very inspiring. And in trying, and when and what I see, and in seeing them and wanting to promote them, it has actually opened doors for me. So another lesson that I learned just by accident was that really, I mean, judging by the benefits I've got from promoting others, is that we need to invest in each other, because take the time to learn about the other person, what they want, and support them. Because in doing that, it's amazing the doors you end up opening for yourself. So, so those are the key lessons that I have learned to date. So in terms of takeaways, for me, I it's and I definitely identified with what Marcia said, and I think Vienos also said it as well. Investing in yourself and being conscientious, being hardworking, that's critical. You've got to acquire the skills in whatever area you are. You acquire those skills and just be top of, at least aim to be top of your game, because in aiming to be top of your game, you can never lose. And then once you've done that, then networking visibility is so important, because for a long time I was very good at being good at what I did, but just stay in the background. But with that, you don't really get far. So I really had to get out of my comfort zone and truly embrace visibility and not be shy about being who I am and letting others see me for what I am. So you really work on your visibility. That's very, very important. And 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 and, and another thing that has been, that I think is going to be quite important, which has helped me as well to, in this life, in this, in our careers, we have to be resilient. And so you've got to find ways to build resilience. I've had to be, and one thing that has really helped me by way of resilience is really connecting with why I'm doing what I'm doing, and uh, and um and really connecting with what others have invested in me. So for me, I've been through some really tough times, because and I've stayed with it, because whatever it is I'm doing has never been all about me. For a lot of what I've been through, if it was just about me, I will step down and just have an easy life. But when I then realized that what I'm doing is not all about me, and there are others not only invested in my success, but others whose lives will be adversely affected if I don't keep up what I'm doing, that has given me strength to carry on. And um, so I would like to share that, because that has been really quite important. And if it's the same for you, then please use that. But one way or the other, just find strategy, stay resilient.